We wish to welcome you to the University Archives and Area Research Center. My name is Shelby Edwards, and I'm the Community Archivist here at the UWRF Archives. I'm going to share a little bit about us and our fantastic collections and resources that are available to you. Here at the Archives, we are responsible for collecting, housing, and providing access to the historical, informational, and primary resources that document the history, development, traditions, and activities of the University in northwestern Wisconsin. As an Area Research Center, or ARC, we're part of a statewide network that collaborates with the Wisconsin Historical Society and 13 other university campus-based repositories throughout the state. Since we're part of the ARC network, we're able to transfer collections between other ARCs in the Wisconsin Historical Society. So if you find something in our catalog that's located at another ARC or at the Wisconsin Historical Society, you can request the materials be transferred to the UWRF Archives, where you'll be able to take a look at the items in person. Today we're going to give you a brief overview of our holdings and collections, but first let me take you on a little tour of the archives. We've come a long way from the early days when the library was located in South Hall, with multiple expansions and iterations of the library over the years. The University Archives and Area Research Center at UWRF is now housed in the lower level of the Chalmers DeVee Library. From the main entrance off of Cascade on level 2, where you enter the Chalmers DeVee Library, take the stairs or elevator down to the ground level. You may also enter the Chalmers DeVee Library from the ground level entrance across from the UC. Once you take the stairs or elevator all the way down to the lowest level, stay to your right through the double doors, and you'll see the double doors of the archives straight ahead. First set of double doors. And there's the archives. Currently, we're open by appointment only, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., but feel free to enter or knock if the doors are locked for your scheduled appointment. You'll be greeted by an archival student worker or archivist. We got a peek into our main archival storage earlier in the intro, but if you come to archives, our storage area is accessible to staff only. Our collections are housed in a secure, temperature and humidity-controlled storage environment. Collections are stored in archival quality folders and boxes and equate to approximately 3,200 cubic feet of collections, which doesn't include our rare books, microfilm, and other collections housed in our reading room. 3,200 cubic feet is archivist speak for about 3,200 average size moving boxes. Or you could think of it more than twice the size of the square footage of an average American home. So basically, we have a lot of stuff. Within the University Archives and Area Research Center, there are several main collecting areas. The first we will talk about are our newspaper collections. We have nearly every local newspaper in print or out based out of the St. Croix River Valley dating from 1850 to the present. These newspapers include many familiar titles, such as the River Falls Journal and the Hudson Star Observer, but also lesser-known or out-of-print titles, such as the Ellsworth Gleaner, printed for a short time in the late 1800s. Many of these titles are available on microfilm that may be viewed in the University Archives and Area Research Center reading room. And don't be scared when you hear microfilm. Archival staff will be happy to show you how to use these analog era machines that provide access to what's still considered one of the best archival mediums for long-term preservation of materials. Newspapers are a great place to start for those interested in individuals or activities when they have a date range and place associated with their research topics. Curious about flooding along the Kinnickinnic in 1895? We've got newspapers that can assist. Curious about early settlers to the River Falls area? Check out the local happenings portion of many newspapers. I personally love reading about the drama happening around town in some of the smaller printed papers, such as this article about the Honorable Jim Johnston, who returned from Madison, Milwaukee, the woods, Europe, somewhere, Tuesday morning. It's mighty hard work keeping track of James these days. For those interested in more current events, we also have access to Badger Link's archive of local papers from the Wisconsin Newspaper Association, accessible online dating from 2005 up to 90 days ago. There are several other databases which provide access to digitized newspapers from across the country, covering the early 19th century to the modern era. And of course, we still have some local titles in print, old school style, available for viewing as well. Our rare books and local history collection include printed fiction, nonfiction, family genealogies, maps, plat books, city directories, local cookbooks, and a ton of other published materials. Plat maps and city directories are a great resource to begin with for those looking for information on specific pieces of land and property. You can locate individuals who resided and owned land, their occupation, age, other members residing in the same address, property lines and structures on land throughout the past century and a half, all of which can be combined with a number of other archival resources to tell the story of the people and land in the St. Croix River Valley. I love digging through our collection of local cookbooks to seek out the strangest or most delicious recipes to test out on friends or share on social media. What's a 60s era themed potluck without a savory gelatin to share? When you hear the word manuscripts, you may think of some writer's dusty, unpublished book. But when we talk about manuscripts in the archival world, we're referring to the papers and records created by organizations, individuals, and institutions. These may include diaries, correspondence, reports, records of business purchases, and other materials created by community members, businesses, and organizations that we've determined to have long-term historical value and retained for permanent preservation and access to researchers. Manuscripts collections are my personal favorite because, as I mentioned, I'm kind of all about the drama. And you never know what you might find in letters, diaries, and even photographs. Aside from the fun of it all, manuscripts collections are used by researchers for various other reasons. Scholarly researchers use these records when studying a particular topic and completing a dissertation or other publication. These can also be used by genealogists when discovering their family history. Military historians interested in reading personal stories of veterans, or by students researching land use and ownership to recreate a pre-European reference ecosystem for a particular site as part of their final project for a forest restoration class. You never know what you might find in manuscripts collections. Our local government record collections are comprised of materials that form our Area Research Center collections, which are owned by the Wisconsin Historical Society and managed by the UWRF Archives. These materials created by local county government units include such things as naturalization records, tax and assessment rolls, court records, school records, city and county board minutes, vital records, as well as many others. You may hear government and records and think boring, but these records contain some of the most interesting and fun items in our collection. Interested in doing historical research on your grandparents' home? Tax and assessment rolls can give you information about original structures, owners, land use, property lines, the list goes on. Court records include information on criminal and civil activities, which is obviously deeply fascinating if you're the drama-loving type like me. And vital records contain perhaps what many would consider the major events of a lot of people's lives, that is, births, marriages, and death. One of my favorite pastimes is looking at death certificates, which has led me down some of the most interesting rabbit holes of my career. But they also serve as a valuable resource for genealogists, researchers, and historians. And it's more than just the information retained in the records themselves that tell a story. The why and whats of the items retained give insight into what individuals working in government and other interested parties found important enough to keep, and in some cases, what they determined they were better off not keeping. Our university records make up nearly half the collections in the archives at UWRF, but the majority of our born digital items. As the university archives, we collect and preserve materials pertaining to the establishment, development, history, and traditions of the university. The university archivist and records manager actively works to collect these records and make them available to the campus community and public. The University Archives and Area Research Center has a small collection of museum items known as 3D objects in the archival and museum world. These are mostly university related, but there are also some items from the four-county area. Examples include university-themed clothing and hats, a branding iron, several quilts and blankets, social and political buttons, pennants, old university time capsules, and Kansas City Chiefs memorabilia from the summer training camp. One of our oldest and most treasured documents is the original petition to establish the River Falls Normal School in 1876, which you can see on the screen. Personally, I love the photographs, especially the early athletic team ones in university archives, but there are brochures from various campus activities such as games, commencement, and other activities, yearbooks, and papers of and records from faculty and departments dating from 1876 to the present. Photographic images are contained throughout our collections of university records, manuscripts, and government records, but we also own a small series of subject and location-based standalone photographic images and postcards. Photographs include more than just hard copy, old-school printed images, however. We also have daguerreotypes, tintypes, slides, and other images from the university and the four-county region. Some of these materials, mainly those from the postcards portion of our photographic collections, have been digitized and may be accessed via our online catalog and Past Perfect. Keep in mind, the digitized content available online make up only a very small amount of the photographic images in our collections. There are also some photographs from our four-county area digitized and viewable in the Wisconsin Historical Society's Visual Materials Collections, available online. Our collections are searchable using the Library Catalog Search at UW. Navigate to the Library Catalog from the home page. And we always recommend to sign into your My Search at UW account. Now, I've already signed in, so that's going to make things easy. And you can limit your search further in the navigation bar. So say you were looking for a wedding announcement from your great-grandparents who were married in October 1931 in Hudson, Wisconsin. Your grandmother seemed to recall there being a newspaper clipping from her parents in the Hudson Star-Observer that included a blurb about their wedding with a picture of your great-grandmother on her wedding day. You could type in the Hudson Star-Observer into the search bar, and then you can go ahead and limit that to the Wisconsin Historical Society Archives and UWRF Archives, and do a search. And yay, it's the first one. Makes it easy. You can see that it said that it's available at the UWRF Archives. And what I would do is click on the item just to make sure that we have the date that covers your great-grandparents' wedding. I said 1931. There we go. And you'll see that it's on microfilm. To access the microfilm, you're just going to want to email archival staff at archives@uwrf.edu or call to set up an appointment. And since you know specifically what you'd like to see in this scenario, we can have the item pulled and ready for you. Or if you can't find what you need online, you can always set up a consultation with an archivist. Just email or call and we'll see what we can find. Staff are available for virtual reference, and visitors are welcome to visit by appointment Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You can email archives@uwrf.edu to set up your appointment or ask your question. And just a few updates based on the current environment with COVID-19. All of our tables and other researcher workspaces are cleaned after each use and again at the end of the day. Tables are appropriately distanced in our reading room, and reference appointments are spaced out to maintain social distancing standards recommended by UWRF. Feel free to email us at archives@uwrf.edu if you have questions about how we're keeping our campus safe.